Hello, Julie Surratt here for Dharma Talk Tuesday, our weekly episode of teaching you how to live, manifest, and experience life in alignment. How do you do that? From your body wisdom. So here's our lesson for today. It's a chakra opening practice for confidence. So let's talk about confidence for a second. Confidence is one of those things that everyone, I rarely have a conversation where it doesn't come up. It's just one of those things that everybody wants. Confidence is one of those things where when I look back on like the earlier part of my life, I know this might sound crazy because if you see me now, you're like, oh, she, riffs on these Facebook lives and she leads all these clients, our Mayans and Money Alignment Yoga Academy. I speak from big stages. I just do a lot. So you would never think, and I say this humbly, you would never think that I had a confidence problem before, but I'm telling you I did. And I just want to share a moment with you back when, way back, when I was like 13, 14. And just because of the experience I had like growing up and the beliefs that I had at the time, I was so afraid to use my voice. Like I was so afraid to open my mouth and share myself, or open my heart and share myself. I was like a little clam, all closed up. And it kind of felt like me against the world, not in like a rebellious, aggressive way, the way it manifests for some people. It was more of like I'm going to keep my mouth closed and hope everything ends up okay kind of way. Hearts and likes if you can relate to that, because I was that. So even back then, even back when I was really young like that, I noticed that something shifted. But it wasn't always, it wasn't like I could shift it and keep it. It was like something shifted. And the way that something shifted was every time I got into my body. Like something different happened in my energy and in the way that I presented myself every time I got in my body. And the way at the time that I was practicing that, because I'm from the Midwest, and it was a time when, before the internet, when it wasn't like a really progressive time, to be honest with you, in the Midwest in St. Louis. What I'm leading to is I eventually discovered yoga, but at the time, yoga wasn't a thing. I didn't know anything about it. But what I did have was dancing, and I discovered that every time I was in my body, I was a different person. People had no idea, and I still get this sometimes actually. There's still parts of it in me where someone meets me and they're shocked that I'm a very good dancer. Or they're shocked that I'm so connected to my body. But this happened a lot when I was younger. It was shocking to people how talented I was with dance. It was just something that really inspired me. And the reason I was so good at it was because I practiced it incessantly. I would come home from school when I was a kid, and we had this room in our house, which was a big space, and I would go in there for 3 or 4 hours and stretch and choreograph and practice routines that I knew, and I would do that every single day. And the reason was because I felt so good and I felt so happy and connected to my flow and myself and my wisdom. Amazing things came out of that. And that was my background. So, I've been dancing since really I could walk. I started with Michael Jackson, Paula Abdul. My very first dance I ever choreographed was The Sign by Ace of Base. Hearts and likes if you like Ace of Base. So I'm sharing this with you because if confidence is something that you're really wanting to create for yourself, here's the deal. If you're coming up against a wall where you feel like you can't, something is stopping you, think about for a second what you want. What's the number one thing that if you could manifest it by the end of this year, you would give anything to experience that? What is that number one thing for you? Maybe even write it in the comment section right now. Because when you share, you create an avenue of abundance as I call it, for the universe to support you. So write in the comment section what the number one thing is that you're super excited about, that you would love to manifest this year. So think about that. Here's the deal. If you're working really hard to manifest that right now, you're really only doing a third of what you should be doing to really make it happen. And here's what I mean. There's actually 3 things you should be doing. I discovered this when I took what I learned, like when I reverse engineered what I did for my whole life. Like I just shared with you, I noticed when I was young, all the way back when I was 13, 14, that I was a different human when I was in my body compared with when I was in my head. I danced at every opportunity that I could. I mean, like I was on dance squad from 7th grade to like 11th grade. I was the captain. I was on cheerleading. I was the cheerleading captain. I choreographed many of our dances. I was just like, that was my space. And I put myself in that world as much as I could. In fact, I was meant to become a professional dancer. Like that was the trajectory that I was on until I really messed up my knee. And I realized, I should pursue a more academic route because that's more of like a safety blanket, right? That's society coming in and infiltrating. So looping it back around. Wherever you find yourself, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you're an academic, if you're whatever you are, I want you to just notice for a second how many times a day you're actually in your body. Like maybe never. Maybe that in itself, you're asking yourself that and you're like, I'm never in my body. Or if you're a client of mine, which I can see some of you on right now, Shamika, Paola, hello. You're in your body at least once a day. I know that because that's what I coach you to do. So think about that for a second. One of the reasons why I've just become really masterful with manifesting and with getting amazing things accomplished in my life is because I've cultivated confidence. And I can promise you, there's no way I could have cultivated confidence if it weren't for my embodiment practice, which started when I was very young, which is why I teach it. I'm an expert in this area. And so what I did was, whether it was taking it all the way back to like applying to college, right? Or going into applying to jobs after college, or going into applying for grad school, like all of these things, all these amazing manifestations I've created all along the course of my career. The number one thing that loops back, it's a consistent thread that goes through all of them, is my connectedness to my body. Because it's in those moments where I'm on my mat, as I discovered yoga later in my life, right? 13 years ago. If I'm on my mat, as I'm in the studio dancing, even if you're having a moment, like I consider taking a bath or taking a shower in embodiment practice. Because how many of you, hearts and likes, have you had some of your best ideas come through when you're in the shower? That's an embodiment practice. These are moments, like points in our life and during our day. Sorry, I just got a phone call there. Where we're not sitting in front of our computer or on the phone, like I just got a phone call, or in a conversation with somebody else, which are moments where we typically are in our heads rather than in our bodies. Unless you're a client of mine and you know to practice being in your body all the time. Just looking at the comments here, Paola says, I practice yoga every day to ground me. At the start of my day, it makes a huge difference for me. Yeah, that's because you're coachable. Paola has manifested some really, really, really incredible things as a result of her body wisdom accessing practice. So thank you for sharing that, Paola. So just looking at that thread of what was in common for all of those manifestations, it was, in hindsight, I looked at this, I studied it, and realized it was the embodiment practice of getting in my body. Now, here's the cool thing, and here's what I've discovered over the course of my own experimentation, and then early in my coaching career, experimenting on my clients, and then realizing that there's actually a system here that I can actually take and give to you. And like I'm actually giving it to you. So like I work with my clients on this in more of like an accountability way, and I hold their hand through how to do it, applying specifically uniquely to them. But like I was messaging with Shamika the other day about how to turn it into a strategy for her. But here's what I'm going to give to you. There's actually a way to specifically target the energy of confidence in your body wisdom practice. So here's what I mean by that. If you look at aspects of your life, right? Like think about relationships, think about your money energy flow, think about your time management and boundaries, think about your health, your body, your wellness. These are all parts of your life. There's actually energy centers inside of you that govern each of those different parts of you. So for example, the energy flow piece, let's talk about that for a second. That part of you is governed by your solar plexus. The reason is because your solar plexus is your center of svadhyaya, which is a Sanskrit word for knowing yourself. It's your center of how you impact the world. I call it your inner sunshine. So it's like the energy through which you impact other people, and the amount of other people that you impact. In other words, the more people that you're impacting, the more money you get to make. I did an Instagram post on this earlier. Like, people underestimate the power of what they can do for other people just by connecting with them, having a conversation with them, reaching out, picking up the phone and making a phone call, or organizing. One of the things I work on with my clients is organizing live events and workshops to create connection and to give to a segment of their community or to the people in their world, so that they can make a difference for them, and then those people can turn around and say, wow, I really love this person and I really desire to have a deeper connection with her. I'd be an idiot not to hire her, essentially. And I teach my clients how to do that from a place of like deep connectedness to their body. It takes away nervousness, it takes away anxiety, it takes away all of those conversations in your head of like self-doubt or fear or any of that, and it puts you instead into an energy of confidence. So confidence that part of you lives in your solar plexus. Confidence comes from your solar plexus. So if you do a body wisdom practice focused solely on your solar plexus, what you're going to get is an opening to experience confidence. Here's one thing I will add about confidence, and furthermore about manifesting in general. There's 3 steps that you must do if you desire to manifest effectively. Doing your body wisdom practice, your chakra opening practice for your solar plexus, is actually just one of them. Okay, so there's actually 2 other things that you need to do in order to give what I call the universe opportunities to help you. Because I'm telling you, the universe wants to help you more than anything else in the whole world. It is your dharma to do the thing, the desire that was put in your heart, and to have massive success with it. And it is your birthright, which in the Sanskrit is called artha, A-R-T-H-A, to manifest the resources to fulfill on that. So the people, the clients, the connections, all of those things, it's your birthright to have those things. And if you're not experiencing the abundance of artha to manifest your dharma, then there's a block. And one of the blocks may possibly be, depending on, I need to talk to you to know if this was actually a block, but more often than not, you're missing one of the 3 steps. And if you're doing a body wisdom practice, like if you're connected and aligned in all of your chakras, then that's not the block fully. The other block is going to probably be the amount of the number of avenues of abundance that you're actually giving the universe every single day to help you. So I would love to tell you that you can go to a dance class, or you can go to your yoga mat and you can do your body practice, and that's it. And then when you do your solar plexus practice, all of a sudden magically things will drop in. Here's what's cool. The universe is amazing, and that will probably happen. Like, you'll get a pop, like, oh, something amazing just happened. But that doesn't necessarily create the consistency that you probably want. If you want to create reliable consistency in your energy flow, whether it's with love or money or these things that require an energy flow, which means you doing something, then that means you need to create an avenue of abundance. What that means is, more often than not, having a conversation with another person or taking a risk. Sometimes having a conversation with another person is taking a risk. Sometimes, I know this sounds crazy, but talking to someone else feels really scary because there's a fear of rejection, or there's a fear of being judged, or there's a fear, like if you're a coach or a consultant and you need to have like a hard conversation with someone, or like a stand in the fire honest moment with someone, it feels like, oh, I really don't want to do that, right? Or for example, I spoke on a stage last year. I talk about this story a lot, and I was so nervous. It was one of those things where I was like, if I could just like crawl under a rock and come out after this event is over, that would be awesome. But of course I didn't. I was nervous, and I got up on the stage anyway, and I did a great job. I had an 84% conversion in the room, and I rocked it out as far as the sales that came after that. And what that did was it upped my confidence. It completely expanded, like 100x'd my confidence. But what did it take to get on that stage and have that kind of success? It didn't take just going to my yoga mat and doing my solar plexus opening practice. However, that made a very big difference. In fact, I was backstage minutes before I went on in downward facing dog, moving through vinyasas and doing my solar plexus opening practice. I'm not lying to you. I was backstage with a celebrity from One Tree Hill who was actually like one of the speakers before me. You can ask her. She probably thought it was crazy doing my silly practice. But that's what I did. The second thing I did, and this is the other piece to manifesting working really well for you, is your emotional cultivation practice. So for example, if you are logically wanting connections, clients, clarity, abundance, flow, you logically want that, but then there's a part of you energetically, or like in a conversation that's happening inside of you that's like, oh, I'm afraid to be seen, or oh, I don't want to have that conversation, or like you're procrastinating or resisting something. You're telling the universe, no, I don't. So imagine if I didn't know that, and if I had gone on stage without having done this energetic preparatory work, if I hadn't done my body wisdom practice, if I hadn't done my emotional cultivation of focusing on what I did want, which was to look out and see every person in the room filling out my form of what I was offering that day, or to look out and have people laughing with my jokes, or to have people like standing up and doing the exercises that I was taking them through. I actually saw that in my mind's eye. I pictured it over and over and over again, and I felt it, and I was like, it was so exciting. Like I felt it, and I felt the excitement. I felt nervous, like, oh my gosh, am I gonna fall as I'm walking up on stage? Like, of course those thoughts came up, but I also felt excitement, and that was what I chose to focus on. That was what I chose to focus on. That was the message I was sending to the universe. So I did my solar plexus opening yoga practice. I did my emotional cultivation practice of what I did want to experience as opposed to what I didn't want to experience. And then in preparation for the talk, I did my talk for everyone. Like my dog got to hear the talk, like my boyfriend, all my friends, like everyone got to experience the talk, and I practiced it and practiced it and practiced it so that by the time I got on stage, I could deliver it from a place of like really knowing it. I practiced it. That's actually an avenue of abundance too. Then I created 600 avenues of abundance by being on stage in front of 600 people. Okay, so what are you doing in your life right now, or what do you have in your life right now that you're resisting, that you know is an avenue of abundance? Is it picking up the phone and making a phone call? I was speaking with someone earlier about this, and for her it was creating daily or regular Instagram stories so that her audience could build a relationship and a connection with her. Is it calling up and putting together, like I'm organizing a workshop in September actually. So it's going to be September 16th. Once I actually need to confirm with the studio still, but those of you that are local, stay tuned. I'm pretty sure it's going to be September 16th. It's going to be about accessing your body wisdom to create your prosperity flow. And I'm so excited because it's not a dance class or a yoga class, but we are using movement to learn how to access your prosperity flow from within. So if you're local, get excited. I'm excited. It's going to be so fun. I was procrastinating a little bit on getting that set up. And then it's like, what are you procrastinating on? Right? So I dropped into my body. And here's the important takeaway from today's talk. Like, this is the number one thing. Okay, so risking is what it's gonna take for you to create an opportunity to practice being confident, to create the space to be confident. And if you are afraid to risk, if you are procrastinating, if you're putting something off that you know you need to do as far as creating an avenue of abundance, use your practice to get the gunk out of the way, to move the resistance to the side, to get up and over the wall, to go underneath, around, whatever you need, break through, whatever you need to do. Your practice actually provides you with the energy and the inspiration to do that. You would be shocked if you practiced on a daily basis how quickly your resistance goes away. You lose resistance. You become coachable, open. Your level of trust goes through the roof, like your ability to trust yourself, your ability to trust other people. More importantly, your ability to trust the universe. Like, imagine being able to think about something that you need to do or that you want to do, and you're not sure about it, but then you drop into your intuition, have a conversation with your body wisdom, with the universe, and you know exactly what your next step is. Like, you know with full conviction what you need to do, and you have full conviction that you can do it. Like, you have no doubt in your mind. Like, you might have like okay, I need to figure out this, this, and this, and then I'll feel more confident. But like, then you go figure those things out with no resistance, no hesitation. Or like, for example, investing. Like, in order to become masterful as a coach and become masterful in marketing, since I was just a yoga teacher / DJ, right? When I first started my business, I didn't know how to market. Like, I wasn't a business person. So I had to hire someone to help me. I had to hire someone. I even had a body wisdom coach for a while, because I want to have a coach for what I teach. Because sometimes, like, you don't see your own blind spots. So for me, it required risking big as far as investing and getting support. So many people won't risk like that. I mean, if you're on here, some of you, like a lot of you are my clients, I can see, you're that person who's willing to risk and trust, right? But you have to ask yourself, like, am I willing to risk big in order to get what I need to get my next step going? And if there's that fear of making the phone call, standing in front of a room, hosting a workshop, investing in support, like whatever that looks like for you, that's where you use your practice. And that's where the chakra opening practice of working on your solar plexus is going to shift you and allow you to have that opening to say, okay, I can see how that risk is going to serve me, and I'm going to do everything I can to mitigate the downside of that risk and turn it around. You know, make sure I have a really good ROI on this risk that I'm making. Does that make sense? Hearts and likes if that makes sense. Cedar says, hi, Julie. Hi, Cedar. I spoke with you on the phone. Chakra is clearing nicely thanks to your advice. Good. I would love to know what you've created for yourself, Cedar, and like what you've manifested. I'm so glad you're tuning in. Thank you for being with us. Let's see. Such cool goals here. 6 clients, 5,000 a month. See, all of these things are completely doable. It's like the universe so badly wants us to have all of these things. Yeah, I just, when you cold, I mean, I've been practicing for 13 years, but like, I have clients who get to their mat and it's like they get up from their mat, they get on a phone call, and all of a sudden they make a sale, or all of a sudden they know their price point that they're selling their product or service at, or all of a sudden they have no resistance about reaching out and creating workshops and creating those avenues of abundance. And that's what's possible. If you have any questions about any of this, know that I will be back on this thread later today to answer them for you. If you want to know what you can do for your solar plexus, in this case, in the conversation of confidence, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link in this thread to check out my 7-day chakra opening yoga challenge, so that if you, and it has all of the chakras on it, but now you know what you can, like, once you get to the solar plexus day, which is day 3, then you can just focus on that, and you'll experience what it's like to have that shift at the end of your doesn't have to be long, 15-minute practice. right? So I'll post that in this thread as a resource for you. By the way, I'm going to be having some content coming out more so that you have more access to practices that you can use like on a daily basis beyond the 7-day chakra opening yoga challenge. So just be on the lookout for that. Paula says, sometimes I practice and when the manifestation doesn't happen, then I find myself disappointed. I'm watching it, but the emotions can be powerful. How can one overcome those emotions? So that's called attachment. That's called having attachment. And Paula, you're a relationship coach, so I know you'll understand this when I say this. My man and I had our 1-year anniversary this past weekend. And I had all these expectations about what I wanted. And by the way, my birthday was the weekend before that, and I had expectations about that too. And not only did he deliver, but he over-delivered on my birthday. It was crazy. It was like the best birthday ever, what I got to receive. So then our anniversary was the weekend after that, and I was like, oh, so I'm manifesting that I'm going to get like this huge letter of acknowledgement. He's going to plan this whole like experience, and I had like all these visions of what it was going to be like. And then as it got closer, I was like, okay, so here's what I'm planning for our anniversary. What about you? And he wasn't really planning on anything. And I was like, what? And I was so disappointed in that moment because I really, by the way, let me just caveat this. He and I are literally opposite people. Like if you look at the personality archetypes, like I'm like high energy, promoter, like charisma, like everything is the best thing ever. And I'm also kind of like a controller where I know what I want, I know how I want it, I know when I want it by, and it's like I'm on it, which are great qualities for entrepreneurship as it happens. He's the opposite. He's more of like a supporter. Like he takes such good care of me. He supports me so much. He's so there for me. He's the most reliable, level-headed man I've ever. He's so there for me and for everyone. He's a very reliable human. And then he's also kind of an analyzer. So he gets in his head about things. So it's not like he can just plan something and have it done. It's like maybe you can relate to one side or the other, right? So for him, like planning my birthday took a lot out of him because that's not his natural tendency. Whereas someone like me who's like, I could just, do this every day. Like that's like a natural tendency for me, but for him, it took a lot out of him. So the reason I'm sharing this, Paola, is because what it took for me to keep the peace in our relationship and not turn it into like a big thing, like a big breakdown thing over the weekend was letting go of my expectations and letting something else come forth that was different than what I had planned. And here's what happened. The weekend was amazing. It was just different than the picture I had in my head. What it turned into was super low key, like so relaxed, but lots of quality time together. And that was his vision. He just had a different vision than me. And what makes for a great relationship and partnership, which by the way, you are in partnership with the universe, you are in relationship with the universe. So sometimes the universe has different expectations and ideas than you do. And let's be honest, they're better because the universe sees everything and we just see what we see with our blinders. So that's the trust thing. What really it takes is letting go of that expectation. When I let go in that moment of expectation for the weekend, all of a sudden it opened everything up. Like intimacy went up, fun went up. We laughed the whole weekend. Like we had so much fun just spending quality time together. And in the end, I actually didn't care that, I really was so unattached in the end, and it felt so much better. And by the way, when I shifted that energy of the expectations, my team had a really amazing weekend. My team was making sales into the company that weekend. They were creating amazing coaching for our clients. They it was just a lot of the wheels were spinning underneath in a really good way because my energy shifted because I'm source for all of that. You know what I mean? So Paola, what I want you to think about is when you're detaching, think about your relationship with the universe. How are you trusting the universe? Or are you in the space of no, my way is better? And is that working for you? And how would you feel, let's say the universe was a person, how would you feel if the person that you were in a relationship with always said to you, no, my way is better? You'd feel pretty disrespected, right? You'd kind of get to a point where you'd be like, I'm out. And that's actually an energy that you're creating with the universe. So anyone who can relate to what Paolo was just asking about, which I think is Duke is sleeping right now and dreaming and his tail's hitting the floor if you're hearing that noise. Hold on, I'm just going to show you. His little tail is wiggling. How funny. I can't zoom in. Oh, yes, I can. That's his little tail wiggling while he's dreaming. I can't not include him in my Dharma Talk Tuesdays. He is so funny. And he's just a lap dog sleeping under the table. So my point is that you're in relationship with the universe. You don't have to keep doing it by yourself. You're actually co-creating every single day. And how much are you willing to trust? That doesn't mean don't do the work. That doesn't mean resign yourself and like take your hand off the pulse and don't create avenues of abundance. Keep creating that momentum. Keep creating that energy. I create, even when I'm off, like even when I'm technically like on vacation or whatever, I'll still take time to create at least 10 avenues of abundance a day. It's a habit now. It's like I can do it on vacation because it's not a drain. I'll reach out, and like many of you, if you're on this live stream, have probably experienced it. Like you'll get emails from me, you'll get text messages from me, like Lena, hi. Like we've texted when I was actually off, or it was a weekend, or I was like not, in a space where I was like working, but like I couldn't, it's like I'm compelled. The universe is moving through me and I'm like, oh, cool. And I just have no resistance in the universe giving me a message to help somebody else. That's an avenue of abundance. And when you start creating as many avenues of abundance in that co-creative way, you are dancing with the universe, and it's no longer about you forcing. And that takes practice, it takes practice like anything, but that's where you start to see all the three pieces work together, and it's like miracle after miracle and flow after flow starts to happen, and that's where it gets really powerful with manifesting. So Paula says, I like that idea better, being in relationship with the universe and trust and keep the faith. Yeah, so Paula, the relationship coaching that you give your clients, think about the relationship you have with the universe. Like imagine the universe as a man. How do you want the universe to be in relationship with you? How do you want to be in relationship with that man, with the universe, so to speak? Hope that helps. Lena says, yes, so grateful for your support. You're welcome. Always happy to support. It is absolutely my dharma, and it makes me so happy to be there for you, Lena, and for anyone who's, in that flow. There's a flow that I just am a part of, and it just moves through me. And that's what I want for everyone. Because imagine being in a world where we're all in that flow of making a difference for, let's say, 10, 20, 30, 100 people a day. You don't think that'd be an incredible world to live in? Like, that's my vision. That's called Dharma. All right. On that note, I will hop off here, and I'll be back later to answer any questions that come up. So if you're watching this on the recording, just post your comment or your question, and I am happy to provide coaching and support later. And I'll post the link to the 7-Day Chakra Opening Challenge later as well. Oh, and final announcement too, a couple more days left before we close the doors this year for Maya. So I'm actually not having those conversations anymore. I stopped having those conversations last week. So one of my coaches is having those conversations with people. Literally 4 more days left, and the doors to Maya close. My group coaching program, Money Alignment Yoga Academy, those doors close in 4 days till next year. And then it's it. So I'll post a link there as well to communicate with her. So sending you so much confidence, so many sparkles, alignment, manifesting power, and I will see you next week, 4 p.m. for Dharma Talk Tuesday. Bye!